You're watching the Sports Central Showdown.
What's going on, everybody? Tarek Fattal here from Sports Central, but this is the Sports Central Showdown. Of course, I'm joined by Graham Metzker of ESPN Plus and Alex Hutton of the Sporting Tribune. Today's topic, we're going at it. We're talking about the rule changes in baseball. Good, bad, indifferent, better for the game, worse for the game. Graham, I'll kick it to you first.
Tarek, there's going to be no pearl clutching on my side today. These were long overdue changes, and the MLB is much better for it. Just from the top, let's talk about the rules that did change, starting with the pitch clock. It was a bit controversial at first. Some people pointed to injuries, but the total regular season violations have dropped from 1,000 in the first season that they did it to just under 500 last year. So the pitchers are more than able to adapt, and it makes for a much more digestible product. You don't got to be at the ballpark for 5 hours on a Wednesday afternoon. Nobody wants that. Definitely not the players. So pitch clock, that's a plus. Bigger bases and a pickoff limit, I feel like nobody is saying this is a bad thing. Everybody loves more stolen bases, and that's exactly what the bigger bases did. The only bad thing about this is you can't say we want a pitcher, not a glass of water anymore, because there's not so many pickoffs that you see it anymore. So I'm sorry if you like that old-timey chant. We're getting rid of all the old-timey stuff. If you can't tell, I'm all for it. And then let's go to the Ohtani rule. Every league should cater to their superstars. That's something that the MLB has struggled with in the past, but this one is just awesome. You get to see Ohtani pitch and hit in the exact same game. I can't imagine anyone, even a Dodger hater like yourself, Alex, being on the opposite side of that one. So we all love the Ohtani rule. And another one we all love, ABS. I mean, how did we live without this thing? Automated balls and strikes. Brings me to another point of that I like about the MLB and the way that they implement their rule changes. You see it in spring training and in the minor leagues the whole season before. Sometimes in like the NBA All-Star game, you get a brand new random thing. You're like, where did that come from? But in the MLB, you get to see the stages of working out the kinks before you see it in the game. And I mean, we've already had some of the umpires that we dread seeing behind the dish when our teams are playing, getting ready to retire. We've already had 7 umpires announcing their retirement for the next season. I don't care about robots. Just get the call right. I can't believe it took us until 2026 to get the calls right on balls and strikes. It's just more accurate. It's just more true to the game. Why would we be wrong? Why would we live in the past? Love these rule changes for the MLB.
Yeah, it sounds like Graham likes a more modern take of the game with these rule changes. Alex, to you.
Tarek, you can call me a traditionalist, you can call me an old man, you can call me whatever you want. I like the way things used to be in a lot of ways. Some of these rule changes are good. I do like the Ohtani rule. I do like automatic balls and strikes. But the pitch clock, to me, it loses some of the essence and the vibe of what baseball is. To me, baseball is all about taking your time at the park on a summer day, sitting back in between pitches, eating a bite of your hot dog, taking a sip of your drink, and then putting your glove back on so you can catch that foul ball. I like that baseball, when they leaned into that, at that more sort of relaxed, leisurely pastime. It's called the national pastime for a reason, and I think baseball might have missed an opportunity to really embrace that, especially when they play during the summer when there's the fewest sports going on. You talk about the Manfred runner, the runner on second in extra innings. We're turning extra innings into this sort of little mini game that feels totally separate from the other 9 innings in a baseball game, and I don't like that. And another thing I really don't like that baseball has done recently is they seem to institute some rules that put a limit on how much managers can manage. I think they're called managers and not head coaches for a reason, because their job is all about strategy, like managing the lineup and managing the bullpen. But now you've got these rules where any relief pitcher who comes in has to pitch to a minimum of 3 batters. You've got the ban on the shift where you have 2 infielders on either side of second base. I don't like that. I say let the managers manage as much as they want. Those sort of micro adjustments in game, the constant moving around, the science behind it that went into how you take on every single hitter, how you manage every single pitcher in every single moment of that game. That's what baseball was all about to me. I loved that kind of stuff. And I get that may not be the sort of most commonly held view at this point, with baseball sort of trying to lean into the more modern style and speed things up. But I like it when it really comes down to it. I mean, it adds that intensity, that build up behind every single pitch that you feel you especially feel a lot during the postseason when the games get so tight. But they had created that vibe kind of around the entire season with all those adjustments, and I really like that part of baseball, the cerebral side of it, the strategic side of it. I thought that's what made baseball great.
I tell you what, you guys are caught between a rock and a hard place with this one, right? I would argue there is no deeper purist in a sport than a baseball purist. You could get someone that really loves basketball, someone that really loves soccer. I would argue their love isn't as deep as someone who loves baseball, right? You talk about the sounds of baseball, the ball hitting the glove, the ball off the bat. And to Alex's point, man, that is irreplaceable stuff. You've got people like Alex that want to sit back. I don't want one Dodger dog. I want two. I want three. I want this game to go 3 hours. I think I like the rule changes. I think I want the game to go a little quicker. However, pitchers have to be a little more careful. There's a little more pressure now on the arm, trying to throw literally more pitches in a smaller amount of time. Got to talk about managers. That's managing, man, making sure the guy's arm's okay for a long haul of a season. So tough one, fellas. Tough one.
Tarek, you nailed it, because you make a small rule change that may seem insignificant, and these baseball purists act like you're trading a baseball for a golf ball. I mean, they act like you're tearing up the whole entire sport. And Alex, you say you want the sounds, that's still there. If you want to go to a game and catch a foul ball, guess what? You got a better chance now because we're going faster. We're throwing more pitches. You got just a higher likelihood of that ball coming your way up in the stands. I think that some of these rule changes actually make it not only just fun to watch on TV, but when you're at the game, it's fun to look up to the screen and see how off the umpire was, and especially depends where you're sitting. That's the best look you're getting at the strike zone all night, is when Dalton Rushing decides to tap the helmet, even when Ohtani doesn't want him to, and all the drama that creates between the umpire, the catcher, the hitter, the batter. I'm here for all that. I'm here for all the more drama. And you know what, Alex, you say, Tark, you say, let me go to the ball game. Let me have a few Dodger dogs. Let me have a few brews. I want my pitchers to get their zone. I want them to run in and take their time. I'm just asking you to be a little more athletic. I'm asking pitchers to get a little better. I'm serious. When you look at baseball highlights from 20 years ago compared to now, it's jaw-dropping. The miles per hour some of those pitches are coming in on. It's no shock to anybody. The game is much more athletic. The players are much more athletic now. Let's adapt to that. Fans can adapt too. Hey, if you want to have multiple Dodger dogs, you better just get to it a little quicker. That 9-for-9 challenge. Come on.
Tarek, I want to go back to something you said a second ago. The dollar is king, and you're absolutely right about that, which means when I buy a ticket to a Dodgers game or an Angels game, I want to get as much value out of that as possible. That means spending as much time at the park as possible to me. If I'm going to, in the middle of the game, if I'm going to run down to the concession stands to grab a snack or something, I need to know how much of the game I'm going to be missing here. I don't want to miss, out of 9 innings, I don't want to miss a ninth of the game going to the concession stands. I want to miss, a couple outs. And when the game is slower paced, it's much easier to do that. I prefer going that way. When you have it, like you said, when you go to a baseball game, the game itself is the star. The history, the tradition, that's really the star of the game. I think what draws a lot of people to the ballpark. It's certainly what draws me to the ballpark. And I like that old style of you get to take your time. There's not this pressure on the pitchers or in some cases the batters with the foot in the box rule, to make things go faster. I prefer being able to take that time and build that tension between the pitcher and the hitter. It's a duel. It's a to use the word, it's a showdown, kind of like in the same way that a penalty kick is, as we continue to watch the World Cup, where there's that psychological element to it. And as that tension builds up, taking more time on it, I think, is ultimately a good thing.
All right, fellas, final arguments time. Alex, why don't you kick it off first, and then we'll go to Graham, and I'll put a bow on this thing.
I think when it comes to the great American pastime of baseball, let's not go too far trying to stray it too far from the great origins of the great American pastime. Keep things the way they are, slow pace, build up that tension, make a day out of being at the ballpark, everything that comes with that. That's what I want to see when I go to a game.
Change is good. Change is necessary. I don't want to go 20 years in the future and still see a ball 3 inches outside get called a strike and my guy gets rung up. We need to adapt with the game. I'm not adding water breaks to the soccer games, guys. We're just making a few little tweaks. You'll still love baseball. It's still your pastime.
You got a point. It's not like Top Golf meets baseball where there's some ring in left field, and if you hit it through there, it's, 2 runs or 3 runs extra, depending on who's on the base paths. I get you. I think there's a good blend of the rules and the pastime still. Be that as it may, that was another edition of Sports Central Showdown.
You're watching the Sports Central